The Iliad, Book 9. So the Trojans kept watch, but panic, fear's sister, had wrapped her icy fingers around the Greeks, and all their best were stricken with unendurable grief. When two winds rise on the swarming deep, Boreas and Zephyr, blowing from Thrace in a sudden squall, the startled black waves will crest and tangle the surf with seaweed. The Greeks felt like that, pummeled and torn. Agamemnon's heart was bruised with pain as he went around to the clear-toned criers, ordering them to call each man to assembly, but not to shout. He pitched in himself. It was a dispirited assembly. Agamemnon stood up, weeping, his face like a sheer cliff with dark spring water washing down the stone. Groaning heavily, he addressed the troops. "Friends, Argive commanders and counselors, great Zeus, son of Cronus, is a hard god, friends. He's kept me in the dark after all his promises, all his nods my way, that I'd raise Ilion's walls before sailing home. It was all a lie, and I see now that his orders are for me to return to Argos in disgrace, and this after all the armies I've destroyed. I have no doubt that this is the high will of the god who has toppled so many cities, and will in the future all glory to his power. So this is my command for the entire army. Clear out with our ships and head for home. There's no hope we will take Troy's tall town." He spoke, and they were all stunned to silence, the silence of an army too grieved to speak. Until at last Diomedes' voice boomed out. "I'm going to oppose you if you talk foolishness, as is my right in assembly, lord. Keep your temper. First of all, you insulted me, saying in public I was unwarlike and weak. Every Greek here, young and old alike, knows all about this. The son of crooked Cronus split the difference when he gave you the gifts. He gave you a scepter, and honor with it. But he didn't give you strength to stand in battle, which is real power. Are you out of your mind? Do you really think the sons of the Achaeans are unwarlike and weak? If you yourself are anxious to go home, then go! You know the way. Your ships are here, right by the sea, and a whole fleet will follow you back to Mycenae. But many a long-haired Achaean will stay, too, until we conquer Troy. And if they won't, well, let them all sail back to their own native land. The two of us, Sthenelus and I, will fight on until we take Ilion. We came here with Zeus." He spoke, and all the Greeks cheered, the speech of Diomedes, breaker of horses. Then up stood Nestor, the old charioteer. "Son of Tydeus, you are our mainstay in battle, and the best of your age in council as well. No Greek will find fault with your speech or contradict it. But it is not the whole story. You are still young. You might be my son, my youngest. Yet you have given prudent advice to the Argive kings, since you have spoken aright. But I, who am privileged to be your senior, will speak to all points, nor will anyone scorn my words, not even King Agamemnon. Only outlaws and exiles favor civil strife. For the present, however, let us yield tonight and have our dinner. Guards should be posted outside the wall along the trench. I leave this assignment to the younger men. But you, son of Atreus, take charge. You are king. Serve the elders a feast. It is not unseemly. Your huts are filled with wine which our ships transport daily over the sea from Thrace. You have the means to entertain us and the men. Then choose the best counsel your assembled guests can offer. The Achaeans are in great need of good counsel. The enemy's campfires are close to our ships. Can this gladden any heart? This night will either destroy the army or save it." They all heard him out, and did as he said. The guard details got their gear and filed out, on the double under their commanders. Thrasymedes, Nestor's son, Ascalaphus, and Aelminus, sons of Ares, Meriones, Apharius, and Diphrius, and Cryon, the son of Lycomedes. Each of these 7 had 100 men under his command. Spears in hand, they took up their positions in a long line between the wall and the trench, where they lit fires and prepared their supper. Agamemnon, meanwhile, gathered the elders into his hut and served them a hearty meal. They helped themselves to the dishes before them, and when they had enough of food and drink, the first to spin out his plan for them was Nestor, whose advice had always seemed best before, and who spoke with their best interests at heart. Son of Atreus, most glorious lord, I begin and end with you, since you are king of a great people, with authority to rule and right of judgment from Zeus. It is yours to speak as well as to listen, and to stand behind others whenever they speak to our good. The final word is yours, but I will speak as seems best to me. No one will have a better idea than I have now, nor has anyone ever, from the time, divine prince, you wrested away the girl Briseis from Achilles' shelter, defying his anger and my opposition. I tried to dissuade you, but you gave in to your pride and dishonored a great man, whom the immortals esteem. You took his prize and keep it still, but it is not too late. Even now we must think of how to win him back, with appeasing gifts and soothing words. And the warlord Agamemnon responded, Yes, old man, you were right on the mark when you said I was mad. I will not deny it. Zeus's favor multiplies a man's worth, as it has here, and the army has suffered for it. But since I did succumb to a fit of madness, I want to make substantial amends. I hereby announce my reparations. 7 unfired tripods, 10 gold bars, 20 burnished cauldrons, a dozen horses, solid prize-winning racehorses who have won me a small fortune, and 7 women who do impeccable work, surpassingly beautiful women from Lesbos. I chose for myself when Achilles captured the town, and with them will be the woman I took, Briseis' daughter, and I will solemnly swear I never went to her bed and lay with her, or did what is natural between women and men. All this he may have at once, and if it happens that the gods allow us to sack Priam's city, he may, when the Greeks are dividing the spoils, load a ship to the brim with gold and bronze, and choose for himself the 20 Trojan women who are next in beauty to Argive Helen. And if we return to the rich land of Argos, he will marry my daughter, and I will honor him as I do Orestes, who is being reared in luxury. I have 3 daughters in my fortress palace, Chrysothemis, Laodice, and Iphianassa. He may lead whichever he likes as his bride back to Peleus' house without paying anything, and I will give her a dowry richer than any a father has ever given his daughter. And I will give him 7 populous cities, Cardamyle, Enope, grassy Hyre, sacred Pherae, Antheae with its meadowlands, beautiful Aepae, and Pedasus, wine country. They are all near the sea, on sandy Pylos' frontier, and cattlemen live there, rich in herds and flocks, who will pay him tribute as if he were a god, and fulfill the shining decrees of his scepter. I will do all this if he will only give up his grudge. And he should. Only Hades cannot be appeased, which is why of all gods mortals hate him most, and he should submit to me, inasmuch as I am more of a king, and can claim to be elder. And then spoke Nestor, the Gerenian rider. Son of Atreus, most glorious Agamemnon, your gifts for Achilles are beyond reproach. But come, we must dispatch envoys as soon as possible to Achilles' tent. As I see before me who should volunteer. Phoenix, dear to Zeus, should lead the way, followed by Ajax and brilliant Odysseus. Odius and Eurybates can attend them as heralds. Now bring water for our hands and observe silence, that we may beseech Zeus to have mercy on us. Nestor spoke, and his speech pleased them all. Heralds poured water over their hands, and then youths filled bowls to the brim with drink, and saved it all around, first tipping the cups. Having made their libations and drunk their fill, they went out in a body from Agamemnon's hut. Gerenian Nestor filled their ears with advice, glancing at each, but especially at Odysseus, on how to persuade Peleus' peerless son. They went in tandem along the seething shore, praying over and over to the god in the surf, for an easy time in convincing Achilles. They came to the Myrmidons' ships and huts, and found him plucking clear notes on a lyre, a beautiful instrument with a silver bridge. He had taken when he ransacked Eetion's town, accompanying himself as he sang the glories of heroes in war. He was alone with Patroclus, who sat in silence waiting for him to finish. His visitors came forward, Odysseus first, and stood before him. Surprised, Achilles rose from his chair, still holding his lyre. Patroclus, when he saw them, also rose, and Achilles, swift and sure, received them. "Welcome! Things must be bad to bring you here, the Greeks I love best, even in my rage." And with these words Achilles led them in, and had them sit on couches and rugs, dyed purple, and he called to Patroclus, "A larger bowl, son of Menœonius, and stronger wine, and cups all around. My dearest friends are beneath my roof." Patroclus obliged his beloved companion. Then he cast a carving block down in the firelight, and set on it a sheep's back and a goat's, and a hog chine too, marbled with fat. Automedon held the meat, while Achilles carved it carefully and spitted the pieces. Patroclus, godlike in the fire's glare, fed the blaze. When the flames died down, he laid the spits over the scattered embers, resting them on stones, and sprinkled the morsels with holy salt. When the meat was roasted, he laid it on platters and set out bread in exquisite baskets. Achilles served the meat, then sat down by the wall opposite Odysseus, and asked Patroclus to offer sacrifice. After he threw the offerings in the fire, they helped themselves to the meal before them, and when they had enough of food and drink, Ajax nodded to Phoenix. Odysseus saw this, and filling a cup he lifted it to Achilles. "To your health, Achilles, for a generous feast. There is no shortage in Agamemnon's hut, or now here in yours, of satisfying food. But the pleasures of the table are not on our minds. We fear the worst. It is doubtful that we can save the ships without your strength. The Trojans and their allies are encamped close to the wall that surrounds our black ships, and are betting that we can't keep them from breaking through. They may be right. Zeus has been encouraging them with signs, lightning on the right. Hector trusts this, and his own strength, and has been raging recklessly like a man possessed. He is praying for dawn to come early, so he can fulfill his threat to lop the horns from the ship's sterns, burn the hulls to ash, and slaughter the Achaeans dazed in the smoke. This is my great fear, that the gods make good Hector's threats, dooming us to die in Troy, far from the fields of home. Up with you, then, if you intend at all, even at this late hour, to save our army from these howling Trojans. Think of yourself, of the regret you will feel for harm that will prove irreparable. This is the last chance to save your countrymen. It is not true, my friend, that your father Peleus told you as he sent you off with Agamemnon. My son, as for strength, Hera and Athena will bless you if they wish, but it is up to you to control your proud spirit. A friendly heart is far better. Steer clear of scheming strife, so that Greeks young and old will honor you. You have forgotten what the old man said, but you can still let go of your anger, right now. Agamemnon is offering you worthy gifts if you will give up your grudge. Hear me while I list the gifts he proposed in his hut. 7 unfired tripods, 10 gold bars, 20 burnished cauldrons, a dozen horses, solid prize-winning racehorses who have won him a small fortune, and 7 women who do impeccable work, surpassingly beautiful women from Lesbos he chose for himself when you captured the town. And with them will be the woman he took from you, Briseis' daughter, and he will solemnly swear he never went to bed with her, and lay with her, or did what is natural between women and men. All this you may have at once. And if it happens that the gods allow us to sack Priam's city, you may, when the Greeks are dividing the spoils, load a ship to the brim with gold and bronze, and choose for yourself the 20 Trojan women who are next in beauty to Argive Helen. And if we return to the rich land of Argos, you would marry his daughter, and he would honor you as he does Orestes, who is being reared in luxury. He has 3 daughters in his fortress palace, Cryothemis, Laodice, and Iphianassa. You may lead whichever you like as your bride, back to Peleus' house, without paying anything, and he would give her a dowry richer than any a father has ever given his daughter. And he will give you 7 populous cities, Cardamyle, Enope, Grassy Hire, Sacred Pherae, Antheae with its meadowlands, Beauty Aepae, and Pedasus, wine country. They are all near the sea, on sandy Pylos' frontier, and cattlemen live there, rich in herds and flocks, who will pay you tribute as if you were a god, and fulfill the shining decrees of your scepter. All this he will do if you give up your grudge. But if Agamemnon is too hateful to you, himself and his gifts, think of all the others suffering up and down the line, and of the glory you will win from them. They will honor you like a god. And don't forget Hector. You might get him now. He's coming in close, deluded into thinking that he has no match in the Greek army that has landed on his beach. And Achilles, strong, swift, and godlike, son of Laertes in the line of Zeus, Odysseus, the strategist, I can see that I have no choice but to speak my mind, and tell you exactly how things are going to be. Either that, or sit through endless sessions of people whining at me. I hate like hell the man who says one thing and thinks another. So this is how I see it. I cannot imagine Agamemnon or any other Greek persuading me, not after the thanks I got for fighting this war, going up against the enemy day after day. It doesn't matter if you stay in camp or fight. In the end, everybody comes out the same. Coward and hero get the same reward. You die whether you slack off or work. And what do I have for all my suffering? Constantly putting my life on the line, like a bird who feeds her chicks, whatever she finds, and goes without herself. That's what I've been like, lying awake through sleepless nights, in battle for days, soaked in blood, fighting men for their wives. I've raided 12 cities with our ships, and 11 on foot in the fertile Troad, looted them all, brought back heirlooms by the ton, and handed it all over to Atreus' son, who hung back in camp, raking it in and distributing damn little. What the others did get, they at least got to keep. They all have their prizes, everyone but me. I'm the only Greek from whom he took something back. He should be happy with the woman he has. Why do the Greeks have to fight the Trojans? Why did Agamemnon lead the army to Troy if not for the sake of fair-haired Helen? Do you have to be descended from Atreus to love your mate? Every decent, sane man loves his woman and cares for her, as I did, loved her from my heart. It doesn't matter that I won her with my spear. He took her right out of my hands, cheated me, and now he thinks he's going to win me back? He can forget it. I know how things stand. It's up to you, Odysseus, and the other kings to find a way to keep the fire from the ships. He's been pretty busy without me, hasn't he? Building a wall, digging a moat around it, pounding in stakes for a palisade. None of that stuff will hold Hector back. When I used to fight for the Greeks, Hector wouldn't come out farther from his wall than the oak tree by the western gate. He waited for me there once, and barely escaped. Now that I don't want to fight him anymore, I will sacrifice to Zeus and all gods tomorrow, load my ships, and launch them on the sea. Take a look if you want, if you give a damn. You'll see my fleet on the Hellespont in the early light, my men rowing hard, with good weather from the sea god. I'll reach Phthia after a 3-day sail. I left a lot behind when I hauled myself here, and I'll bring back more. Gold and bronze, silken waisted women, gray iron, everything except the prize of honor the warlord Agamemnon gave me, and in his insulting arrogance took back. So report back to him everything I say, and report it publicly. Get the Greeks angry, in case the shameless bastard still thinks he can steal us blind. He doesn't dare show his dog face here. Fine. I don't want to have anything to do with him either. He cheated me. Wronged me. Never again. He's had it. He can go to hell in peace. The half-wit that Zeus has made him. His gifts mean nothing to me. Not even if he offered me 10 or 20 times his present gross worth, and added it to all the trade Orchomenus does in a year, all the wealth laid up in Egyptian Thebes, the wealthiest city in all the world, where they drive 200 teams of horses out through each of its golden gates. Not even if Agamemnon gave me gifts as numberless as grains of sand or dust would he persuade me or touch my heart. Not until he's paid in full for all my grief. His daughter? I would not marry the daughter of Agamemnon, son of Atreus, if she were as lovely as golden Aphrodite or could weave like owl-eyed Athena. Let him choose some other Achaean, more to his lordly taste. If the gods preserve me and I get home safe, Peleus will find me a wife himself. There are many Greek girls in Hellas and Phthia, daughters of chieftains who rule the cities. I can have my pick of any of them. I've always wanted to take a wife there, a woman to have and to hold, someone with whom I can enjoy all the goods old Peleus has won. Nothing is worth my life. Not all the riches they say Troy held before the Greeks came. Not all the wealth in Phoebus Apollo's marble shrine up in craggy Pytho. Cattle and flocks are there for the taking. You can always get tripods and chestnut horses, but a man's life cannot be won back. Once his breath has passed beyond his clenched teeth. My mother Thetis, a moving silver grace, tells me 2 fates sweep me on to my death if I stay here and fight. I'll never return home, but my glory will be undying forever. If I return home to my dear fatherland, my glory is lost, but my life will be long, and a death that ends all will not catch me soon. As for the rest of you, I would advise you too to sail back home, since there's no chance now of storming Ilion's height. Zeus has stretched his hand above her, making her people bold. What's left for you now is to go back to the council and announce my message. It's up to them to come up with another plan to save the ships and the army with them, since this one, based on appeasing my anger, won't work. Phoenix can spend the night here. Tomorrow he sails with me on our voyage home. If he wants to, that is. I won't force him to come." He spoke, and they were hushed in silence, shocked by his speech and his stark refusal. Finally, the old horseman Phoenix spoke, bursting into tears. He felt the ships were gone. "If you have set your mind on going home, Achilles, and will do nothing to save the ships from being burnt, if your heart is that angry, how could I stay here without you, my boy, all by myself? Peleus sent me with you on that day you left Phthia to go to Agamemnon, a child still, knowing nothing of warfare, or assemblies where men distinguish themselves. He sent me to you to teach you this, to be a speaker of words and a doer of deeds. I could not bear to be left behind now, apart from you, child, not even if a god promised to smooth my wrinkles and make me as young and strong as I was when I first left the land of Hellas and its beautiful women. I was running away from a quarrel with Amintor, my father, who was angry with me, over his concubine, a fair-haired woman whom he loved as much as he scorned his wife, my mother. She implored me constantly to make love to his concubine, so that this woman would learn to hate the old man. I did as she asked. My father found out and cursed me roundly, calling on the Furies to ensure that never would a child of mine sit on his knees. The gods answered his prayers. Underworld Zeus and dread Persephone. I decided to kill him with a sharp sword, but some god calmed me down, putting in my mind what people would say, the names they would call me, so that in fact I would not be known as a parricide. From then on I could not bear to linger in my father's house, although my friends and my family tried to get me to stay, entreating me, slaughtering sheep and cattle, roasting whole pigs on spits, and drinking jar after jar of the old man's wine. For 9 solid days they kept watch on me, working in shifts, staying up all night. The fires stayed lit, one under the portico of the main courtyard, one on the porch in front of my bedroom door. On the 10th night, when it got dark, I broke through the latches and vaulted over the courtyard fence, eluding the watchmen and servant women. I was on the run through wide Hellas, and made it to Pythia's black soil, her flocks, and to Lord Peleus. He welcomed me kindly, and loved me as a father loves his only son, a grown son who will inherit great wealth. He made me rich and settled me on the border, where I lived as king of the Dolopians. I made you what you are, my godlike Achilles, and loved you from my heart. You wouldn't eat whether it was at a feast or a meal in the house, unless I sat you on my lap and cut your food up, and fed it to you and held the wine to your lips. Many a time you wet the tunic on my chest, burping up wine when you were colicky. I went through a lot for you, because I knew the gods would never let me have a child of my own. No, I tried to make you my child, Achilles, so you would save me from ruin. But you have to master your proud spirit. It's not right for you to have a pitiless heart. Even the gods can bend, superior as they are in honor, power, and every excellence. They can be turned aside from wrath, when humans who have transgressed supplicate them with incense and prayers, with libations and savor of sacrifice. Yes, for prayers are daughters of great Zeus, lame and wrinkled and with eyes averted. They are careful to follow in folly's footsteps, but folly is strong and fleet, and outruns them all, beating them everywhere and plaguing humans, who are cured by the prayers when they come behind. Revere the daughters of Zeus when they come, and they will bless you and hear your cry. Reject them, and refuse them stubbornly, and they will ask Zeus, Cronus' son, to have folly plague you, so you will pay in pain. No, Achilles, grant these daughters of Zeus the respect that bends all upright men's minds. If the son of Atreus were not offering gifts and promising more, if he were still raging mad, I would not ask you to shrug off your grudge and help the Greeks, no matter how sore their need. But he is offering gifts and promising more, and he has sent to you a delegation of the best men in the army, your dearest friends. Don't scorn their words or their mission here. No one could blame you for being angry before. We all know stories about heroes of old, how they were furiously angry, but later on were won over with gifts or appeased with words. I remember a very old story like this, and since we are all friends here, I will tell it to you now. The Curetes were fighting the Aetolians in a bloody war around Calydon town. The Aetolians were defending their city, and the Curetes meant to burn it down. This was all because gold-throned Artemis had cursed the Curetes, angry that Oeneus had not offered her his orchard's first fruits. The other gods feasted on bulls by the hundred, but Oeneus forgot somehow or other the only sacrifice to great Zeus's daughter. So the archer goddess, angry at heart, roused a savage boar with gleaming white tusks and sent him to destroy Oeneus's orchard. The boar did a good job, uprooting trees and littering the ground with apples and blossoms. But Oeneus's son, Meleager, killed it. After getting up a party of hunters and hounds from many towns, it took more than a few men to kill this huge boar, and not before it set many a hunter on the funeral pyre. But the goddess caused a bitter argument about the boar's head and shaggy hide between the Curetes and Aetolians. They went to war. While Meleager still fought, the Curetes had the worst of it, and could not remain outside Calydon's wall. But when wrath swelled Meleager's heart, as it swells even the hearts of the wise, and his anger rose against Althea his mother, he lay in bed with his wife, Cleopatra, child of Marpessa and the warrior Idas. Idas once came and took up his bow against Apollo to win Lissum Marpessa. Her parents called the girl Halcyone back then because her mother wept like a halcyon. The bird of sorrows because the archer god Phoebus Apollo had stolen her daughter. Meleager nursed his anger at Cleopatra's side, furious because his mother had cursed him to the gods for murdering his uncle, her brother, that is, and she beat the earth, the nurturing earth, with her hands, and called upon Hades and Persephone, the dread, as she knelt and wet her bosom with tears, to bring death to her son. And the Fury who walks in darkness heard her from the pit of Erebus, and her heart was iron. Soon the enemy was heard at the walls again, battering the gates. The Aetolian elders sent the city's high priests to pray to Meleager, to come out and defend them, offering him 50 acres of Calydon's richest land. Wherever he chose, half in vineyard, half in clear ploughland, to be cut from the plain. And the old horseman Oeneus shook his doors, standing on the threshold of his gabled room, and recited a litany of prayers to his son, as did his sisters and his queenly mother. He refused them all, and refused his friends, his very best friends and boon companions. No one could move his heart or persuade him, until the Curetes, having scaled the walls, were burning the city and beating down his bedroom door. Then his wife wailed and listed for him all the woes that befall a captured people. The men killed, the town itself burnt, the women and children led into slavery. This roused his spirit. He clapped on armor and went out to fight. And so he saved the Aetolians from doom of his own accord, and they paid him none of those lovely gifts, savior or not. Don't be like that. Don't think that way. And don't let your spirit turn that way. The ships will be harder to save when they're burning. Come while there are gifts, while the Achaeans will still honor you as if you were a god. But if you go into battle without any gifts, your honor will be less, save us or not. And strong, swift-footed Achilles answered, I don't need that kind of honor, Phoenix. My honor comes from Zeus, and I will have it among these beaked ships as long as my breath still remains and my knees still move. Now listen to this. You're listening? Good. Don't try to confuse me with your pleading on Agamemnon's behalf. If you're his friend, you're no longer mine, although I love you. Hate him because I hate him. It's as simple as that. You're like a second father to me. Stay here. Be king with me and share half the honor. These others can take my message. Lie down and spend the night on a soft couch. At daybreak we will decide whether to set sail or stay. And he made a silent nod to Patroclus, to spread a thick bed for Phoenix. It was time for the others to think about leaving. Big Ajax, Telamon's godlike son, said as much. Son of Laertes in the line of Zeus, resourceful Odysseus, it's time we go. I do not think we will accomplish what we were sent here to do. Our job now is to report this news quickly, as bad as it is. They will be waiting to hear. Achilles has made his great heart savage. He is a cruel man, and has no regard for the love that his friends honored him with, beyond anyone else who camps with the ships. Pitiless. A man accepts compensation for a murdered brother, a dead son. The killer goes on living in the same town after paying blood money, and the bereaved restrains his proud spirit and broken heart, because he has received payment. But you, the gods have replaced your heart with flint and malice, because of one girl, one single girl, while we are offering you 7 of the finest women to be found, and many other gifts. Show some generosity and some respect. We have come tinder your roof, we few out of the entire army, trying hard to be the friends you care for most of all. And Achilles, the great runner, answered him, Ajax, son of Telamon in the line of Zeus, everything you say is after my own heart. But I swell with rage when I think of how the son of Atreus treated me like dirt in public, as if I were some worthless tramp. Now go and take back this message. I won't lift a finger in this bloody war until Priam's illustrious son Hector comes to the Myrmidons' ships and huts killing Greeks, as he goes and torching the fleet. But when he comes to my hut and my black ship, I think Hector will stop, for all his battle lust. He spoke. They poured their libations and headed for the ships, Odysseus leading. Patroclus ordered a bed made ready for Phoenix, and the old man lay down on fleeces and rugs covered with linen, and waited for bright dawn. Achilles slept in an inner alcove, and by his side lay a woman he had brought from Lesbos, with high, lovely cheekbones, Diomedes her name, Phorbas' daughter. Patroclus lay down in the opposite corner, and with him lay Iphis, a silken girl Achilles had given him, when he took steep Scyrus, Eneas's city. By now Odysseus and Ajax were in Agamemnon's quarters, surrounded by officers drinking their health, from gold cups and shouting questions. Agamemnon, the warlord, had priority. Odysseus, pride of the Achaeans, tell me, is he willing to repel the enemy fire and save the ships, or does he refuse, his great heart still in the grip of wrath?
Odysseus, who endured all, answered, Son of Atreus, most glorious Agamemnon, far from quenching his wrath, Achilles is filled with even more. He spurns you and your gifts, and suggests that you think of a way to save the ships and the army. He himself threatens at dawn's first light to get his own ships onto the water, and he said he would advise the others as well to sail for home, since there is no chance now you will storm Ilion's height. Zeus has stretched his hand above her, making her people bold. This is what he said, as these men here who came with me will tell you, Ajax, and the two heralds, prudent men both. Phoenix will spend the night there. Tomorrow he sails with Achilles on his voyage home, if he wants to. He will not be forced to go. They were stunned by the force of his words, and fell silent for a long time, hushed in grief, until at last Diomedes said in his booming voice, Son of Atreus, glorious Agamemnon, you should never have pleaded with him, or offered all those gifts. Achilles was arrogant enough without your help. Let him do what he wants. Stay here or get the hell out. He'll fight later, all right, when he is ready, or a god tells him to. Now I want everyone to do as I say. Enjoy some food and wine to keep up your strength, and then get some sleep. When the rosy light first streaks the sky, get your troops and horses into formation before the ships. Fight in the front yourselves. The warlords assented, taken aback by the authority of Diomedes' speech. Each man poured libation and went to his hut, where he lay down and took the gift of sleep.